Top winning 2 of 3, and that's after dropping the first game of the weekend series in a doubleheader on Friday. Justin Parker joins us right now. He is the interim head coach at Mississippi State, and his Bulldogs playing pretty good baseball right now. Coach Parker, thanks for a few minutes of your time this afternoon. You think back on the weekend, and really each of those games had a really unique feel to it. Ole Miss kind of hits the ball all over the place in game one. You get a pitcher's duel and Evan Sieri, just unbelievable in the second game. And then game three, there was a little back and forth. You had a big lead. Both teams made some miscues, and you're able to come out on top. But all in all, a really good weekend for your ball club.
Yeah, it sure was. It did. It felt like, that's kind of a typical SEC weekend. You're just momentum is hard to keep just because of how talented the other team and how well coached every other team is. And, I felt like we were plagued on game one on Friday just by this kind of some similar things that has plagued us lately. It's just the big inning, crept up on us. But I did feel like we captured some momentum finishing the back half of game one. And, the environment on Friday at game two and just the way the fans showed out for that and the support of the guys and to be able to get that start from Evan. And, Evan gives up a leadoff hit and then gets the double play ball on the first pitch. And then from there, it was almost like, you're watching a big leaguer throw and command the ball. So, and then game three, the gut check, that's how it always is. It seems like there's nothing ever comes easy. And, we felt like maybe for 6 or 7 innings, we had a lot of things going for us and it came a little easier. And then, we hit a little bit of the tough patch and just able to do enough and stay in the fight and prevailed there in game three. But, yeah, it was a great series all in all. I'm proud of the guys, and, we're back to work this afternoon.
Certainly in your role working with pitchers, you've seen guys have great bullpens and then they go out and they get shelled. You've seen guys that don't look very good in the bullpen and you don't have a great feeling walking back to the dugout and then they go out and they just deal. When did you know with Evan that Friday night had a chance to be special?
Well, I really, I thought he's had, and I think I've talked about this lately, you've probably heard it, it's just, the last about a month, his work weeks have just started to look a little different. I've seen a guy that's kind of embracing that role a little bit. He's so routine driven. I think he really benefits from being on a consistent schedule like a weekend starter would be. And I've seen his confidence growing and his competitiveness growing within it as well. And we've been able to build up the pitch counts. And, so I'm watching, early in the game, it's, there's been days where he's had a really good slider, and there's been days where he's had a really good curveball. There's been days where he's had a really good changeup. They haven't really necessarily shown up consistently on that same day. And it became pretty apparent about the second, maybe third inning that he was getting swings and misses at the top of the zone with the fastball, and then he had real command for all three of his secondaries, and it almost felt like you're playing a video game there for a little while. It's just everything, he threw was where you wanted him to throw it, and he controlled every count, and he was able to mix sequences, based on – I don't know that he's even been through a lineup a third time a whole lot, and he was able to get well into it the fourth time, and, it was like watching him every inning kind of build momentum, and man, what a great start. I don't know that I remember a start that dominant. Maybe Brooks Auger last year against Ole Miss and Hoover was similar, but that was a really, really special outing.
Does that make it easier or harder to call pitches?
Well, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier. Sometimes, you're calling pitches and the guy's not commanding the ball, and it doesn't matter what you're calling or where you're calling. He's not throwing it there. So makes it a lot easier, and you're able to really build a game plan to be able to exploit a guy's weaknesses. So maybe there are times where, you have a guy where early on he's super fresh. You feel like his strengths will outduel anybody else's strengths. Well, then the second time through, you're taking a look at the sequences that you threw him the time before, or how you've got him out in the past, and maybe you're trying to lean a little bit more into his weaknesses and the hitter's weaknesses, and trying to get him out, according to that. And when you're able to have, and he struck out. He struck out guys on 3 different pitches, on changeup, on curveball, and on fastball, and he threw slider for strikes consistently. It just was one of those things where you're able to put so many different variables in the mind of an opposing hitter that makes it really hard to hit.
Coach, let's go back to the top of the eighth there on Friday night. He gets the first couple of guys and then single and a hit batsman. So 2 on, 2 out. You come out there. Everybody in the stadium, including probably Evan Sieri at that moment, thinks you're coming to get him and you're going to make a change there. And instead, you kept him in the game. It was a pretty brief conversation. Sort of take us through it and then how you told him, hey, this is your game.
Well, I'd seen it last year. I mean, it's such a special place to coach and play, and you guys know that. It's I saw it last year, and it's almost like one of those things as a coach where it gives you goosebumps and the chills kind of thinking about this. I saw it last year with Cal Steven at times. He's such a warrior. I saw some times where I'd go out and kind of be in between. I'd look him in the eye, and he'd tell me, get out of here type of thing. And I experienced the response from the crowd, and I felt like that, was something that, just Evan, just to get through one more out. There's no way I was taking him out of that game. I just watched everything that goes into it. That's what I did. I just pointed at his heart. I said, no one's got, no one's tougher, no one's got a better heart than you, and no one wants to win this game more than you. It's your game. Like we're winning it or losing it with you. And, the response is incredible from our fan base, and, they love these kids, and Evan's really, really easy to root for.
Then on Saturday, you have the Ryan McPherson redemption arc. He had the tough game in the Governor's Cup after pitching so well, but ends up giving away the lead there. Comes back on Saturday, high tension situation, and that's what you do in the backyard is bottom of the or top of the ninth. Let's get this game, and I thought he pitched really, really well for you.
Oh, there's no doubt, and you say things and you teach and you coach these different points, and as a pitching coach, the one message is there's always a way out, even as bleak as it seems sometimes. And, another piece of what we've been kind of working on lately is when you come in, especially the brotherhood that we have, like you watch the guy next to you work every day. You watch how he shows up. You watch how invested he is. You watch how much he cares. So when you come into a game, I thought Ben Davis did a really nice job in the eighth of that game. Coming in, when you inherit somebody else's runners, you take them personal. And you take care of that guy next to you, and you get him out of that jam. And Ben did that in the eighth where he struck out Udermark. That was a huge at-bat. Ryan came in the ninth and did that for Ben. Ben was on fumes a little bit, throwing back-to-back days. And first and second, nobody out. There's always a way out. And just what great poise to do it. In that environment, that magnitude of a game, certainly obviously being the rivalry and that they had already seen him and beat him in Pearl. So I'm just really proud of him, really, really proud of his toughness and his poise for a young guy. And truthfully, I just probably would have had him in the game earlier other than I was just trying to protect him a little bit. Just he had failed against him in Pearl. Just felt like we had some older guys that had pitched and were good matchups for him too. But you just never know what order it's going to be or how many guys it's going to take. And, he was just the last man standing.
Justin, how do you teach a pitcher in a likely bunt scenario to throw? I mean, there's one school of thought where it's like, okay, if they're going to give you an out, just throw it up there and let them bunt it and take the out. But that's not what that at bat looked like at all.
Well, you're trying to we're trying to inside move. I think maybe early to see if they'll tip their hand. They didn't. In a bunt situation, they hit it. And then and that's a situation specifically for us. Having no outs. We're making sure that we're trying to get ahead of the hitters. So, I'm trying to throw elevated fastballs, just really maybe we get him to pop up, and if nothing else, we throw a pitch that if he is swinging, it's a good pitch, from a pitch planning standpoint. We had the wind blowing in that night that, their whole lineup was really, really good at the bottom of the zone. They struggled a little bit more at the top of the zone. So adding all those kind of variables together felt like, just trying to elevate fastballs and maybe popping him up or keeping him at, soft in the air was the right play.
Last thing for you, headed to Missouri this weekend, midweek game first, but headed to Missouri, all of a sudden that's a red-hot Missouri Tigers team after they sweep A&M on the road. I don't know that anybody saw that coming. How much are you talking about the postseason with your guys and what you need to do to get there?
Honestly, really not much right now. I think I think they all come to the SEC knowing how much publicity is on it. They're all paying attention to it. I don't feel like it's something that we need to talk about a lot. I think it's just staying with our approach and doing what we need to do. I mean, the reality from this weekend was as great of a weekend as it was here internally and in our state. There's a lot more people nationally talking about the Missouri Tigers than they are about the Mississippi State Bulldogs, and that's why I told the guys this afternoon. I know how good this feels, but you still got to go out and earn the respect of everybody, and we're still in the process of proving that. We're in the process of playing better on the road. We have a great opportunity to do that this weekend. I said this weekend. They'll have even before what they did. They had our full attention. I really respect them and their program and some of their players and their coaches. So just one of those things where not much postseason talk. Just really trying to become a little bit better version of ourselves by Thursday, and hoping to play good baseball this weekend.